Reclaiming Timeless Ways, Mike Traster, Simon Fuller. Glad to have you along with us as we hope you'll do it and bring it up in different shows. Please subscribe to this channel and also share these shows with others if you think that they could get some value out of it. That is our hope for you, and we hope you do pass that along, pay it forward, so to speak. If you watched it, enjoyed it, send it along. Mike, another opportunity to plant a seed, talk about a topic. What's that going to be today?
Well, this has to do with autonomy of one's own mind.
Yeah.
Right. Not that we put on a show or that we pronounce that we're autonomous, but that we are. It means we own our own thoughts.
Yeah.
Right. We come to our own conclusions. We have a thinking process. Right. So the first question is, whose opinions are your opinions? Are they yours?
Sure.
Or are they opinions that are imposed upon you by a present person or the memory of a person?
Sure.
Right? How bad were you browbeaten into saying, I believe A instead of B?
Right.
You know? And does that happen? Absolutely, it happens all the time.
And even the simplest form of that, Mike,
Right.
and I know this is maybe not the best example, but I'm breaking it down in my brain simply because that's what I need in my mind. You know, whether it's I grew up a Hawkeye fan or a Viking fan. Did I decide to become? If you're a farmer, or you're either Case IH or John Deere, did you decide that? Whether you're religious or not, what political side of the aisle you're on.
Right.
Did you form that?
Right.
Or was it formed for you?
Was it imposed upon you?
Right. And I'm not saying you can't embrace that later and decide it. In fact, I had a conversation once with a guy about the difference between, you know, baptism basically at youth when it really isn't your choice versus more of a choice of baptism when you're too aged to decide for yourself, and some differing thoughts on that. So it doesn't mean that you don't embrace that baptism if you were youth baptized.
Sure.
But did you decide that, or did someone for you?
Right.
And that's kind of the crux of this
That's
whole
an
topic.
That's an excellent example. That's a superb example. It really is. I guess my answer to that question is that could be a double baptism,
Yeah,
right? You're being brought into the community when you're a child.
right.
And when you're of whatever the age is of
Right.
intellectual consent,
Sure.
right? Then it's the second baptism if
Right.
there's two.
And the same with all the others, the teams you choose, the color of tractor you want.
Yeah.
You know, you doesn't mean you can't choose that later, but you also do get to choose if it's different than the tradition or the family or whatever it is. You do get to choose that and have every right to.
Right. So another question is, do you have the right to change your mind?
Sure.
Yeah. So I asked a patient of mine once, he was chronically depressed, and I said to him, so you've been through a lot of changes, yes I have, and a lot of the things you used to want blew up in your face, and after a while you looked up and you're like, oh, I don't think I want that. That or it or her, whatever it was, right? And he's like, that's true. I said, so let's make an example, right? Let's say there's this young man, and his picture was one of those grand old Cadillac Eldorados, white, convertible, with a red leather interior.
Okay.
I can't remember the year, but it was probably late 60s, early 70s. Eldo was like bigger than the Titanic.
Right.
It's like, oh God, you know, they got to make the street longer so I can drive on it. And then one day, you know, and this is, so like maybe your nickname is Eldorado because everybody knows that's your dream. And one day you get up and say, hey, Eldo, how you doing? I'm right. Hey, you're Eldo, right? Yeah. But there's a little sparkle that's missing. Why? I don't know. Maybe I'm just feeling like crap. I'll like it again tomorrow. And tomorrow comes and you like it, but you don't love it, right? And 6 months later, you're like, that used to be like my picture of joy, which is individual, right? It's not right or wrong. But you realize it's no longer on your radar screen. Is that okay?
Yeah.
It is. do you have to continue to be Eldo?
Right. No.
You don't. That's all right. And if your friends don't accept it, that's your problem, but it's their problem,
Right.
right? So instant gratification, if you're instantly gratifying yourself, it's like a form of distraction, right?
Sure.
Or compensation. I'm not happy because she doesn't want to go on a date with me again, so I'm going to eat 3 pizzas. Well, that'll drown your feelings till tomorrow or tonight. Money as medicine, if I spend a lot, will I get numb to what's bothering me? Briefly. And then you're gonna feel worse because you have a bill,
Right.
right? Politics, why do you believe in abortion or not?
Right.
Right? What's your opinion about military spending, right? Or inflation, or the COVID shot?
Right.
Is it your opinion? Status, spirituality, the roots of morality, right? All these things. And it's like, where did these thoughts come from? Are you appeasing somebody? And that's where we talked about the stage of the mind's eye, remember? The chairs, and you got like 5 or 10 people that you, in your mind, they're always judging you. You want grandma's approval, or grandpa, or your dad, or your best friend. So you adjust your opinions to appease what they say is the absolute standard. This is how it is, right?
Right.
And so you're nailed, your feet are nailed to that position. That's how you feel. But is it true?
Right.
Are you going to lose something? Yes, you're going to lose their approval, or maybe their camaraderie.
Right.
But in the process of giving up their camaraderie, you may regain somebody else's, your own,
Right.
right? So what good is everybody else's camaraderie if you lose your own?
Right.
Right. So my question is, when you come up with your beliefs, what are the roots? This conversation, this concept is, continuing. What are the roots of your conclusion? Are they intellectual, fact-based, or are they emotional?
Sure.
I'm afraid you're going to dislike me.
Yeah.
You're going to shame me. You're going to shun me. Ooh, boy. That's like, God. And it's almost like a mousetrap. It's like the minute you feel that fear, it goes boom, and you know what you're going to decide. You decide for emotional safety, not because it's what you really believe.
Right.
So, whose mind is it?
That's a very interesting question. I know we just had it's a short episode, but hopefully when you
Right.
flip it off when this episode is done, which we're near that point, you sit back and really meditate on that today.
Right. Right.
Think in your world. And it's okay. It's okay if you've been trapped in a situation of believing because of others. But it's also okay, like you said, to change your mind
Oh, absolutely.
and have you being you because that's what's right for you.
Right. Yeah. And are you mistaking appearance with substance?
Yeah.
Right? There was a little repair shop I used to go to in another part of the country, father and son. The place was a disaster. They made my house look spotlessly neat and clean, and it isn't. My house is controlled chaos.
Yeah.
And I like it like that. It's books and tools and movies, right? I would come in there, and they were very gruff on the outside. They would look at me and they go, "Oh, you effed up your car again. Now we gotta fix whatever you screwed up, right?" Like, yeah, they're funny, right? But they were good-hearted men. They were extremely talented mechanics. They were the most reasonably priced people in that whole town of $250,000. And they fixed it right the first time every time, because that was their intention and their ability. Now, to everybody who didn't know them, they were slobs,
Right.
but they weren't. And the guys in their 50s or 60s or 70s who had an 80 and 90-year-old mom or grandma, that's where she was going to go. Because they knew that these two guys would protect that old lady. They would charge her the least and do the best work. They would make sure she could sit down, have a cup of coffee. They would be gruff to me because I enjoyed it. They were very gentle to her. A lot of substance, but no show.
Yeah.
You know, no showtime.
Right.
So from the outside, if you didn't know them, you would go, why do you want to go in that place? They're just a bunch of lowbrow slobs. They were smart. They didn't care about appearances.
Right.
They cared about substance.
Yeah.
And they touched, I'll bet you a couple of thousand lives,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Remarkable.
Right. That could be your story. So whose mind is it anyway? You choose and you roll with it. All right. Thank
Yeah.
you, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Reclaiming Timeless Ways. Have a great day.